Keith McCarty. That's the guy over at Eaze. That's the guy that sold Yammer to Microsoft for $1.2 billion. So you get a chance to understand what's going on over at Eaze as well as where they're going, and you get a sense of what $1.2 billion might be. We're happy to be on Cannabis Radio and on the Sexpot Comedy Co-op. And so here we are. I mean, this is Eaze HQ, yeah?
That's correct. We're here in San Francisco at Eaze HQ.
So I just came over the Bay Bridge. That's quite something. And you're right at the lip of the Bay Bridge, really. Why not just go to Oakland?
Yeah, I mean, we're right in the heart of the city. I think that, when I moved my last company up from LA to San Francisco, we learned pretty quickly that the best engineering talent lives within San Francisco for the most part. And if you want to recruit the best engineering talent, you need to be where they live. So although Oakland's awesome, I think that San Francisco's a little bit better.
There's some history I've heard to the city of San Francisco.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think it's, we're in the heart of Silicon Valley, right? And so when we initially moved up, the last company I started, about 12% or 15% of the startups were in San Francisco. The rest were kind of in, let's say, the peninsula or where the rest of the VCs were like Palo Alto. And fast forward, 5-6 years, and now about 90+% of the startups are in SF. And I think that's, certainly that's part of the history. I think there's a lot more history that you're probably referring to, but
indeed. But this isn't about the Grateful Dead or Janis Joplin, or the Burt. No, let's not make it about that. It's about you, Keith, and that company that you referenced. Let's just set the stage. What was that? What did it do? And what happened?
Yeah, so the last company I helped start was a company called Yammer, and it was kind of like Facebook for inside of your company. We started the company in September 2008. 3.5 years later, we grew the company to about 800 people and sold to Microsoft for $1.2 billion. So that was certainly exciting, and I think it really set the foundation of my experience around how to grow technology companies now. Right, fast forward to Eaze, I think that taking that experience is pretty powerful.
Absolutely. You learned how to grow the company from Yammer to Microsoft and then back to Eaze. What about you? Are you from SoCal, or where are you from?
Yeah. So I grew up in Southern California, Orange County specifically. Grew up, went to college at Chapman University, which is based in Orange County. And, out of college, joined a company called Genie, which is based in LA, led by David Sachs, part of PayPal Mafia. If you know the PayPal Mafia history, it's like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, a lot of names that most people know. Joined that company, was very passionate about technology ever since, graduating college and even through, my childhood. And, we actually spun Yammer out of Genie and launched that. And then about a year after we launched it, moved it up to San Francisco because with any high growth company, if you're not in Silicon Valley's backyard, it's much harder to kind of achieve your goals, let's say.
Yeah, forget it, so to speak. Where does that technology kind of mindset come from? How far back can you remember you really desiring to kind of get your hands dirty with tech?
Yeah. I mean, look, it really comes down to the mindset of how do you get to scalability and efficiency, right?
Oh, no, I mean personally. I mean like when you were a little kid.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing, right? So, I mean, I can remember back to when I was, 7 years old and my friends had a bunch of lizards, and I was like, well, you guys are buying crickets from the pet store. How do I get you guys crickets or create a business model around that? And it's like, well, I can't, develop enough crickets by myself. So how do I use some spreadsheet to be able to organize other people to be able to catch these crickets and create a business model? I mean, I think that, then it was part of just racing, right? So motorcycle racing, I think there's a lot of electronics or graphs or things like that you utilize in terms of developing the product itself. Mm-hmm. And then, kind of fast forward into kind of high school and college, of course, as a millennial, naturally we're kind of built around and kind of influenced by the technology that was brought to us, right? So
I think that society has noticed, to say the least, right?
Yeah.
So this racing, how long did you do? Do you still do it?
Yeah, so I was kind of I grew up around racing. My dad actually was just introduced to kind of the Hall of Fame, I guess, if you will, for MA. And so ever since I can remember, I was kind of around racing and around top performing athletes at the professional level. So I'm not sure if I had a choice or not.
And MA motocross or what?
Yeah, so he runs all the racing for Yamaha, street bike racing, dirt bike racing, both kind of supercross and motocross, drag racing. I mean, everything in the U.S. basically he runs. And I started doing it myself. And I think that's part of me is I'm super competitive. I don't like to lose. And I think that I've certainly brought that into the business sense that there is no option except for winning. Okay.
So first or last, right? Yeah. So there's the competitiveness. Right there is the drive. There's the we talked about kind of the technology piece as well, and the fact that you're not going to not win, to use a double negative. What is $1.2 billion?
Yeah, that's a couple comments.
Like, what did you at the time? Do you now? Can you fathom that?
Look, I mean, I think that at the time, everything was happening so fast that we're kind of in the moment, right? We're trying to build the best company that we can. And I don't think that you build a company around getting acquired or even going public or anything like that. Really what we were trying to do is change the world, right? Change the way in which people collaborate within their business. And I think that naturally when you really excel at that, these opportunities present themselves, as did this one. And it resulted in a nice outcome. And I think that, we certainly this isn't going to be the last one.
So, I mean, this is what you're doing. There's an exit strategy and all of that. Get into, why you have to change the world every time you do something.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that, for me personally, I think it's about the passion of influencing, people and making lives better, right? So whether it's around productivity or just quality of life, they're one and the same things. I want to have an impact. I want to have a legacy. Those are personal goals of mine. And I think that exits or wins or things like that are just really kind of notches on the belt to kind of give you a pat on the back, I guess, in terms of doing things in the right direction, right? When people stop me on the side of the street because I'm wearing the Eaze t-shirt and can't wait to tell me how much they love the service or how their mother or their sibling is impacted by getting delivery brought to their doorstep in about 15 minutes, that's gratifying. So
you when you talk about the service, if someone sees it as delivering cannabis, sure. That's an end, but that's not how you talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I mean, I think that we've certainly developed the technology in a way that allows us to move in a lot of different directions. I think that cannabis is, one, it's the fastest growing industry in the world. So there's definitely a movement there. And I think that this industry really needs the professionalism that Eaze, in my experience, can kind of provide. So that's something I'm extremely passionate about. But I think that what we're developing in terms of technology, which is verifying eligibility to be able to receive medicine, surfacing a menu of medicine that you're able to receive or you're eligible for, and then figuring out with a click of a button how to get that to you in about 10 to 15 minutes. Those three key areas of what we're building can be applicable across all of healthcare. So not just cannabis.
Oh, I see. This is not last. There is a next. I can see what you're saying, but get into what you were thinking about at Microsoft with the concept of Ondemand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I mean, when I was at Microsoft, I knew that through and through, or deep down in my heart, I was really an entrepreneur guy. Wanted to create something that I could really control. And sometimes, in a 90,000 person organization, that's difficult, right? You're trying to move this big ship and steer it, and it's just not moving as quickly as I want. So I started looking at kind of the next wave of technology, and really that's now very obvious, but in 2012 maybe wasn't so much obvious. It's really on demand, right? The economy is moving towards this movement of I want it now, and I want it with a click of a button via any connected device. And Uber and Lyft are the best examples in the early days of kind of doing that within ride sharing. But what we started seeing was other kind of companies or products or services popping up within other categories within on-demand. So food and drink. I want a meal with a click of a button. I get it delivered in 10 minutes. Or home, right? I want my house cleaned, click of a button. But it was very clear that some of these were taking off more so or not as much as, let's say, ride sharing. And so I started trying to understand kind of what are the dynamics of making on-demand consumer services successful or not. And when I defined those and started looking at every product and service, marijuana kept coming up. And that was the start of my path down this road. Then I looked at the regulatory environment. It was like, okay, well, the majority of Americans now favor legalization. Well, we know what happened with gay marriage, right? And history repeats itself. And I think this is no different. And then the last piece was kind of the ethos, right? Is as a non-cannabis user myself, and I certainly would if I had a reason to, and I would get it through Eaze.
Yeah, I was going to say I can find a way to get you some, right?
You know, it was really about, is this legit, right? Or are people really using this for the right reason? And I think that that's part of the stigma that exists today is people just don't know. But I think that anybody that does the research like I did, and by the way, my mom called me out saying that this is initially just a glorified drug dealing service. And then, you know, once she went through the same process that I did, she came to the same conclusions as well, which is this truly is medicinal. There truly are benefits. And here's all kind of the areas in which it helps people. And I think that walking down the street with an Eaze t-shirt, you can't be stopped, or you will be stopped. And people will want to tell you about how it's benefiting them. And I think that conviction that people have about this is true, right? It's people are truly benefiting from it, and the world needs to know how they can use this product and through Eaze get it delivered in about 10 minutes.
And it sounds like you're receiving these stories in a different way than any other technology that you've built in the past. This sounds a little bit closer to the heart.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that when you're impacting people's health, it's much different than when you're impacting productivity. And yeah, I think that that's definitely something that continues to drive us internally. This is a movement. And I think that the conviction that people have that they stop you to tell you, I guarantee you that if I was walking down the street with a Yammer t-shirt, they weren't going to stop me to tell me how much productivity they gained through collaboration through Yammer. They may say it's cool every once in a while, but the conviction that people have around what cannabis is doing in their lives and how Eaze is really helping to facilitate that is powerful.
And you touched on it, and I took you away from it. Now I'll bring you back. This could be a solution for healthcare. Mm-hmm. Take us another step there.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the possibilities are endless, right? I could blow your mind and say that, you know, in a few years, we're going to be delivering via drones as well, right? And the best way to do that is through a technology that has geolocation and GPS capabilities. But, you know, I think that there's a lot of potential for where we can take this. I think that we're extremely passionate about the cannabis space. Like I said, it's the fastest growing industry. We are the leader in the space, and we're defining not only kind of the regulatory model, but also impacting people's lives and changing kind of the stigma around this because we're passionate and we have conviction around the benefits themselves. Now, beyond that, does it make sense to move into broader healthcare? We certainly can, but we're 100% focused on the cannabis industry right now.
And with that 100% focus, we've talked about the consumer. Take us through, just give us kind of the overview of the rest of the supply chain.
Mm-hmm. So Eaze is a technology service. We provide technology to partnering dispensaries and patients for free. And so, you know, basically what we are is a way for, in the same way that you'd use Uber, right? No matter where you are, you open up the Uber app and you click a button to get a delivery of a ride. No matter where you are with Eaze, you just kind of open up the application and select what you want, click request delivery, and it shows up in about 10 minutes. So you can get your medicine anywhere, anytime in about 10 minutes. You know, I think that we choose to only partner with the best operators, meaning the dispensaries that provide the highest quality products and can deliver that at the most competitive pricing to the end patient. You know, that's important. I think that not only is about kind of safe access, but it's also about the convenience that kind of Eaze provides through its technology. So, you know, I think the value proposition for everybody that we interact with, whether it's a patient or a non-patient being a dispensary, there's massive value there in terms of utilizing that technology. One other thing that I want to mention is something called EaseMD. And so when you go through our sign-up flow, we ask for everything that we need to be able to verify your eligibility to be able to receive medicine. So your state ID or your recommendation, which is kind of like the prescription. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have that recommendation, we've developed something that's called EaseMD. And with a click of a button, you can be connected in real time with a physician that's board certified. And over a HIPAA compliant video teleconferencing solution, you're able to have your evaluation with a physician and get your recommendation in real time. So it takes 5-10 minutes or however long it takes for the physician to qualify you if you qualify. And yeah, I mean, I think it's all about removing friction, right? It's about easy, quick, and professional, whether it's getting your recommendation first and or getting the delivery of the product to your doorstep.
How big is that network of physicians? It's fascinating.
Yeah, look, I mean, so we launched it a few months ago, and I think that for Eaze, it's not only for new patients kind of coming in or new people that are they don't want to, it's kind of there's a lot of friction in terms of going to an MMJ doctor. Like when you talk to, let's say the future of the market, your stay-at-home soccer mom can't understand why she can't just go to her primary care physician to get a recommendation, or what's the specific MMJ doctor going to ask me, and is my data secure, right? And so by removing that friction, we're actually opening up kind of the market to people that can benefit from medical marijuana, but may not have, there may be a reason or two as to why they wouldn't want to go to that clinic, right? That one that I just described. And by the way, they're typically in kind of less desirable locations, but if you could do it from your luxury of your house or anywhere, there's a lot of benefit there.
It feels like your service flows like water, wherever the friction is, we kind of go around it.
Yeah. I mean, I think Eaze is a solution. If you're interested in utilizing medical cannabis, or you are currently utilizing medical cannabis and you want to have a more frictionless experience like you described, you go to Eaze, right? Go to easeup.com, and whether you need, like I said, you need to get your recommendation, or you just want to get delivery in about 10 minutes with the best quality product at the most competitive pricing, this is the solution to use.
Excellent, and well done on the plug, by the way. It sounds like you've maybe talked about this before.
lots of conviction.
Right. So I've got 3 final questions. What about just the basic concept that you've reinvented the wheel?
I mean, I think that at the highest level, on-demand is not new, right? It's about connecting a consumer with a service provider. In this case, it's a dispensary, and their driver with the patient. Although we're doing a lot of additional work around, really making this a point solution. For example, we're developing something called the strain graph, right? And the strain graph is really about taking what you like, coupled with the aggregate data that we have, and building a recommendation engine. In the same way that, let's say Netflix, when you go to Netflix, they say, well, because you watch this, you want this, right? And the only way to do this is through technology and data. And so, yeah, at the surface level, it seems very simple. Actually, what's happening in the background is much different and much more powerful. And we hope to and plan to impact the industry and continue to make the most frictionless experience that we can.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to talking to you in a year from now when we know what happens with the election. But 3 final questions. I'll tell you what they are, and then I'll ask you. What has most surprised you in cannabis? What has most surprised you in life? And then on Keith's soundtrack to his life, what is at least one track, one song that must be there? So what has most surprised you in cannabis?
So the most surprising thing in cannabis, I would say, is that, when I talked to lawyers when we first started this company, I would ask when A, B, C, and D would happen. And fast forward, they give me a time projection. Fast forward a few months later, I'd ask them the same questions, and that was greatly accelerated, right? And I think that goes back to, sort of the tipping point, right? The majority of Americans favor legalization. Not only does it move in that direction, but it's accelerated. We've hit the pendulum has shifted, in other words. So that's been the most surprising as to how fast this movement is happening. And I think that companies like Eaze are helping to accelerate that movement.
So SoCal kid, former racer, person that's sold companies for at least $1 billion and change. What has most surprised you in life?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most surprising thing in life is, I guess people want to do the right thing, right? And I think that there's, especially in work and whatnot, that there's truly just good people out there no matter who you kind of interact with. And I think that giving people always the benefit of the doubt has been very surprising. I think this industry is no different. Because you use cannabis doesn't mean that you're a stoner, right? It's, people truly, want to do good. And I think that judging or people, for certain things that later come to fruition is can be discouraging if you were to treat them a certain way, right?
Indeed. There's a lot of them. And not everybody's the same, certainly. Speaking of not everybody being the same, everybody's given us a different answer to this question. On the soundtrack of your life, name one song.
Shoot, that's tough. Let's say "Eye of the Tiger" or "I Mean It" by G-Eazy.
We'll take both, Keith. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
So there you have Keith McCarty. Obviously a big brain. Obviously a guy that really is interested in changing the world. So great to sit down with him and understand him a little bit more. Very much looking forward to seeing what happens and where Eaze goes. Happy to be on Cannabis Radio and the Sex Pod Comedy Co-op.